the plan for the future of Catholic Answers Live?
Well, there
What
are
are
a
we
lot of
doing?
big plans,
A lot of big plans
but
going on.
I think the biggest plan is to make Catholic Answers the best place for people to first encounter God's love. Sorry to get really
Did you
deep.
know that there's a place you can turn first
boy.
that features the
What's that?
newest, most
We have
exciting
music.
Catholic resources?
It's just
as
coming
well
out of
as
the
a
prophet,
huge
Darren. You can
selection
just
by
mute that down. But whoa, there's a sound guy.
Yeah.
I'm not there to do my job, and I left that fader up, so I
Ye-
should not have done that because we were
We were-
just told get in there.
We had a little commercial.
No, but
break.
that's true. Catholic Answers Live, it needs to become global. 'Cause
Absolutely.
every day I see we have about 100, max 150 people watching live.
Yeah,
I see other people playing video games. It has 100,000 views.
I know. I know.
So
Well,
What are we doing
we
wrong?
are. I mean, we are becoming more global, though. We do have callers and listeners from all over, and I think I spoke with my new friend in Canada the other day.
Yeah.
Shout out. And I think people are really searching, and so it is slowly growing. But we're doing what we can to get the word out there, and we believe in what we're doing, so that's all good too. Hey,
amen.
we might
have
have a
help.
host.
We have help. Hey, Sai, welcome.
Rest in peace, Sai.
So now
Margot.
I have sound. Oh. What? How much were we talking and no one heard?
That's
Not
great.
too much. Oh, really? And we said so much, so many things. And
That's great.
that's the trash.
I didn't know if you wanted me to take anything out.
Do we need to re-explain everything? I don't even know what we said now.
Oh, are we live now? Is this what's happening? Oh, okay. Well, we lost our host.
And
He's returned to take out the trash, but
so now he's turning into.
yeah, we're
Hey, Sai,
having
welcome back.
back
Oh,
the
That's-
a behind the scenes crew view today.
Oh yeah, and
Test,
have
test.
we?
Oh.
Sai, tell me a little bit about yourself. How do you choose your shirts?
I call you up and I say, "What are you wearing today, Marie?" And then whatever you're wearing, I wear that.
It's really good that I have a lot of button-down shirts. Otherwise, you'd be wearing a lot of dresses. But
Yeah, I gave that up. So I don't do that anymore. You guys, I
for
feel
Lent,
very,
and
very
then
much
he
like
never came back from it.
weirdly, it seems, I shouldn't say weirdly. I don't know why this would be weirdly, but you guys could just do pre-shows by yourself. You don't need anybody
Well,
in here.
Yeah.
the
Other
fact
than
of
Nick talking the show down while he's on there. I was like,
I did.
the
look at
fact
that.
of the matter is,
There's Rochelle. She has a podcast, It's called
Clumsy Theosis.
Clumsy Theosis. Yeah, it's really
It's
good.
wonderful.
Right.
Rochelle is very hip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
She's
very,
with it.
Very cool.
She also loves Jesus. It's a great listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how can you
It
listen
is.
to Clumsy Theosis?
Well, you can go to
just started working here like
Catholic,
last week.
Catholic.com.
Catholic.com.
Or Catholic.com.
And
Radio tab, and then on the left-hand side, you can see all our different podcasts, and Clumsy Theosis is up there.
does it, when you guys come in here and you're just hosting the show by yourselves?
Yeah. Which happens never.
Yeah, but does it make you lose respect for those people who are on the air? Like you're like, this is so easy.
No. Because
really?
No,
Yeah.
I thought it would.
Oh, because I always feel like it's a secret that's going to get out. How easy it is, and
It's like this job's a joke.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's the way I feel. But you don't feel that way.
No, it's like, what do you say next?
That's
Yeah.
the thing.
The world
yeah.
is listening.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That is the hard. But when you get to that point of how do I fill the next 30 seconds or whatever, that's about the most desperate feeling in the world.
That's when you pull a little bit of
Oh,
Back to you, Nick.
Yeah, noticed that.
It's very easy if Jimmy or Tim is here because
Yeah.
you just say something. You go, I've never read Suetonius. Just say that, and then they'll talk.
They'll just pick
off
it right up.
Right.
Yeah.
And
because they've read everything.
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, as a matter of fact, we have a summer reading thing where this is another way that you feel. Just start talking about stuff that's not really bad. I think it was Todd Aguilaro asked everybody who's on the air and around the building, just different people, what's your summer reading recommendation? And are they doing funny video stuff?
I don't know what's happening.
So he
in the
asked what's your
studio.
summer
in the booth.
reading. Like I picked hey, there's Tim Ryland, the head of the Catholic Answers magazine.
Woo.
So I picked like a summer reading book. You know what a summer reading book is? It's light reading. It's not. And
Should be beach reading.
I think ask Ryland while he's standing there. What did Jimmy pick? I think it was the 12 Caesars. I think that was his recommendation for summer reading was the 12 Caesars. That I don't think that Jimmy or Tim understands what summer reading.
Yeah,
is supposed
summer
to be.
reading
That
is
for
supposed-
them that's summer reading, but that's not a summer reading recommendation for other people. Hey, you should
Yeah.
read the 12 Caesars.
I agree.
So I don't know. They're having a
You're
lot of fun
looking
out
for
there in the-
something more like, Charlotte's Web or.
Charlotte's Web is summer reading if you're in 6th grade. But
Well, I'm not making.
okay, now wait a second. Do you see how when you're talking and everything in here, they're not necessarily paying attention out there? They just do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's
It's
that
probably.
what
disconcerting.
happens
That's
during
what
the
it's like.
show?
Yeah, like we're doing a show in here, and there's all these young people, and it's you.
We're all
Usually it's you. Now
laughing.
it's them.
Hysterical.
And no, you're young, Tim Ryland.
Well, and no,
And-
it's the worst. I assume the worst part is when you see all of us break into laughter, and then
It has nothing to do with us.
yeah, and you're
that-
like,
No, yeah, like sometimes people are a call will come in. It's a beautiful call. The answer is beautiful and all that. Like we're really doing.
but really we're discussing.
And when I look out there, and you guys are like doing some kind of online video sales of used Christmas trees.
Oh
and
my
that-
goodness, that was one time.
Yeah, but it was all of you.
Yeah. Well,
So
in the booth, what happens in the booth stays
we
in
don't
the
call
booth.
it the booth. Nick doesn't like the word
Nick likes
booth.
control
He wants it to be
room.
called the control room, and I feel like I will remember to call it control room if you would all get matching jumpsuits, like in
No,
a
we're
in
not
a,
doing.
got
No,
a
no,
whole
no,
like
no,
have you
no.
ever seen an old
not
like
doing
Godzilla movie
jumpsuits.
where everybody in the control room has a jumpsuit on?
I
That's what you
know.
guys need.
No, we're gonna do hats. We're gonna do hats that say.
Well, I'm not going to remember that. The
Control
only thing
room.
that's going to make me remember to say control room is if you all wear jumpsuits. There
Well-
should be, and then you should turn the camera on yourselves to
Just
show
a
everybody.
little fun
Yeah.
fact about this man. He doesn't remember anything, so I don't even believe that.
Wait, I
Oh,
remember some stuff.
Do you know what is interesting?
What? Go ahead. What's interesting?
He remembers everything about food and Diet Coke.
That's stuff. Those are things.
But
you said I don't remember anything.
Not about other things, important scheduled things. But,
Oh, like
we're
if you
making-
put something on the schedule and then you have to remind me, and then at the time you have to find me and all that. You're talking about that kind of thing.
Hey, I like running around.
No, you don't have to run.
I
Come
call
on, I
him.
think
I
you might
call
be
him.
exaggerating a little bit.
I am.
Yeah, but I have to. I
This
am
has
guilty
sort of
of
become
that.
a roast. I'm really sorry for
No,
that.
that's okay. I feel that's something that's true about me. I don't have a good organizational brain. That's the organizational part of the brain doesn't work very well.
That's okay. That's why I got hired, so that we could have some organization.
Yeah, it's I find so far
Right?
having you here because you have an organized brain and I don't. I have found you a very annoying person, but I'm sure that I'm gonna look who's here!
Hey,
You guys better get
our
out.
special guest.
Better get out.
Okay, we're
Alrighty.
leaving. We're
Thanks.
leaving.
Oh really?
Guys.
You guys took me very
Wait,
seriously.
what time is it?
We have about 2 minutes, so
Oh,
I need some more. I got to do some.
Yeah, you
work
got to do
behind the
things.
scenes.
I'm gonna take that seat.
I'm gonna.
Alrighty.
You can take this seat if you
Welcome
want,
back.
Maria.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then
I'm
we'll
gonna
see if
slide. I'm gonna slide down
that
here.
other seat will get filled. Oh, Tim Ryland, I'm so sorry.
Hold this book.
I'm so sorry. Let me tell him online what we're doing.
What book is that?
Okay,
Who cares?
this is the thing. Marie just said how forgetful I am to do stuff, and you told me on Monday, get this picture taken by Thursday, and it's Thursday, and I haven't done it, so now you're in
That
the
is
studio
exactly what I was talking
to take
about.
the picture. And what am I supposed to do? Just, do you tell me what to do,
Hold it
and
up
then,
like you're reading it, and I only want to
You
get the
can't
top part of your face because.
oh, you want this off then?
You know, I kind of like that.
Okay, all right.
Like you
Like I'm-
always are wearing a headset.
Like I'm reading Walker Percy's Lost in the Cosmos.
That's what exactly.
Okay.
And I'm gonna get you from this angle because we have to Photoshop the cover.
Tell me when am I doing it right?
Yep, pretty much.
All right, I'm out.
You should be talking right now, Marie. No one else is talking. That's what we call dead air. Bye, Marie.
Bye, Marie.
Am I doing it?
You're doing it great. One
Ah,
more.
yes.
Work with me, baby.
Is this going to be in the magazine, or where will this be?
Newsletter.
This will be in the newsletter, so if you get the newsletter.
Boy, you really love the camera. The camera loves you.
Yeah, I know, right. I love the camera. I don't know if the camera loves me, but yes,
Thank you.
I love the camera. I got mine. You can actually, if you put them down on the seat, then they'll be out of the way.
Yeah,
That's a clean mug there, Jimmy. Hi,
thank
Jimmy
you.
Aiken.
Hey there.
Thanks for coming.
So sorry I wasn't here for the beginning of the pre-show.
I wasn't either.
I was working on my book manuscript, and I just kept working, and I didn't realize we had a pre-show today. So.
Yeah, a very similar thing happened to me, except it didn't involve any work.
Oh, okay.
It just involved forgetting. So Nick's going to go silent in a little bit. If you don't know what this mess has been, we're about to do the live radio broadcast of Catholic Answers live around the world and into New York State. Jimmy Aiken will be our guest first hour, Mark Brumley second hour.
Are you implying New York is not part of the world?
Oh, did it
I've
come out that way?
I've seen some, comics like where it was levitated into space or something.
Yeah. Okay, got to go silent.
Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. It's Thursday and that means open forum. And open forum means if you have a question about the Catholic faith, if you'd like to know something about what Catholics believe or why we believe it, you are welcome to give us a call whether you are Catholic or not. 888-318-7884, 888-31-TRUTH. If you prefer that version, this hour we're joined by Jimmy Aiken, our senior apologist here at Catholic Answers. Next hour, Mark Brumley, the president of Ignatius Press, will be here. So that means 2 hours of getting the correct answer to your questions about the Catholic faith. And when Jimmy's here, we also we're willing to take a broader array of questions. Jimmy enjoys talking with you about all kinds of things, including religion in a broader sense, and philosophy and ethics.
Tyrannosaurs.
Oh, do you have something in particular about tyrannosaurs, or you just?
Oh, yeah, no, there's all kinds of cool things about tyrannosaurs.
Okay. I'm going to go, Jimmy, give me the top 3 tyrannosaur things that come to your mind.
They had feathers. We know that now. They lived about 30 years, and between 10 and 20, they would gain 5 pounds of mass a day for 10 years.
Oh, that sounds like my 40s.
And recent studies indicate they were as smart as chimpanzees.
What?
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
It is. They hunted in packs with the juveniles, like running faster out front because the adults were so muscled up.
Yeah.
They couldn't run as fast. And so the juniors would outflank the prey, and then the adults would come in for the kill. And they'd hold them with those little tiny arms, and then the adults had this bite and pull motion for eating that younger ones couldn't do.
Oh.
But think about this. 30-foot tall, 7-ton things hunting in packs and being as smart as chimpanzees.
That's truly terrifying.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
No wonder they're called tyrannosaurs.
Yeah.
And is the Rex still in there, or is that
Oh,
been
yeah,
taken
yeah.
out? 'Cause
Tyrannosaurus rex is the name of a species in the broader family.
okay.
The tyrant king.
Because my favorite dinosaur when I was a kid
Tyrant
was
lizard
a
king.
Brontosaurus, and that doesn't even exist anymore. Now they call it, that's like other names.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things about that. I
really?
have to check that one out.
I thought Pluto was a planet too, though.
It
so
is. Pluto is totally a planet.
I'm so confused. on
Anything that is big enough
Round.
that it's round and small enough not to glow is a planet.
it. Small enough not to glow. That's a good limiting factor. Let me give the number again, 888-318-7884. It's open forum today on Catholic Answers Live. We'd love to have your question on any aspect of the Catholic faith. I do have to ask Jimmy one more question about tyrannosaurs before we go to any kind of
Okay.
phones, though. I saw a movie, and it seemed to imply that if you didn't move,
Oh yeah,
the
Jurassic Park 1.
oh, is that what that was? Okay, so it suggested that if you don't move, the Tyrannosaur can't see you.
Yeah, that's totally not true.
It's
They
like,
had
that was going to be my one advantage if they came back.
like most predators, tyrannosaurs had binocular vision, just like we do.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so even so, they could tell. Not only they didn't have to depend on motion to see you. They can pinpoint you with both eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And get a fix on your position. And they after. Jurassic Park came out as a movie, it was pointed out that this was nonsense, and so they tried to fix it in the follow-up novel Michael Crichton did.
Really?
Yeah, they speculated, well, why would a tyrannosaur in the first movie not eat someone when they froze? And the suggestion was, well, maybe it wasn't hungry because it had just eaten someone else, which is what happened in the previous scene in the first movie.
So they just smoothed right over
Yeah,
that.
there's a term for that. That's in comic books and other fan-related genres. That's called retconning.
Yeah.
Retroactive continuity. You fix mistakes after the fact.
Yeah. Or is it always mistakes, or could it just be something that
It changes.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
there was a change, and now, oops, we.
Change. Or,
Yeah,
you can change somebody's background in fiction, and that's retconning.
I wish somebody would make, like, I love space movies. I really like dinosaurs. No movies about dinosaurs in space.
Well, there are TV shows about that.
Oh, there are?
Actually, there are movies about dinosaurs in space. I have several.
Really?
You should watch one sometime. Yeah.
Okay, I'm coming over.
Okay.
I'm inviting myself over right now.
Okay.
To see a movie about dinosaurs in space.
I don't promise it'll be a good movie, but they exist.
If dinosaurs, space, by definition, that's a
Okay.
good movie. That's within the definitional parameters. Shall we go to a call?
Yeah.
All right. Again, open forum. So if you got a question for Jimmy, go ahead and dial 888-31-TRUTH. Richard in Fresno, your question for Jimmy Aiken.
Hey, gentlemen. Just calling about excommunication. If you could, I guess, expand on it, excommunication, and then the second part of it is that it relates to, my understanding is abortion is one of the cat actions or sins that somebody could be excommunicated from. But why are other mortal sins like murder and rape not, part of that or cause for action?
Okay,
Okay.
Richard.
So excommunication is a canonical penalty that imposes certain restrictions on people who are under a sentence of excommunication. Among these, for laity, it's mainly you can't receive the sacraments. And it's actually more than just not being able to receive the sacraments, because anytime you commit a mortal sin, you're not supposed to go to communion, but you're not excommunicated. The sentence of excommunication or the penalty of excommunication is more than that, and that becomes more obvious in the case of like clerics, where clerics, if they're excommunicated, are suspended from being able to exercise. If they're a priest, they can't exercise their priestly ministry and things like that. They're not supposed to place acts of governance if they're bishops and they're excommunicated. And there are other consequences too. But for the laity, the main one is you can't receive the sacraments. Also, if you're a laity and let's say you're a lector or something, you're not supposed to be lecturing. So those are described in the Code of Canon Law. It's online. You can look it up. There's also a book by Edward Peters about excommunication. It's a short read, and he's one of the top canon lawyers in America, so I'd highly recommend his book on excommunication. In terms of why it's provided for abortion but not other murders, it's because, this is conjecture, but I would say it's because abortion is the most common form of murder. It happens millions of times, whereas other forms of taking the life of an innocent human being occur vastly less frequently. There are nowhere near as many homicides of a non-abortion kind as there are homicides of an abortion kind. And so because society is accepting of abortion but not accepting of murder in general, you have a strong social sanction and a strong deterrence against other forms of murder, because if you try them, you're going to go to prison apart from them being socially disapproved. And without any kind of social sanctions against abortion, people are much more likely to commit it. So it needs a stronger deterrent, in particular to help Catholics understand that just because society allows this, that doesn't mean God allows it.
Okay, Richard? Oh, Richard,
Yes.
that all makes sense to you?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it sure does. Thank you so much.
Thank you. 888-318-7884, the number. It is open forum. Looking at the clock, I think we should probably take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more with Jimmy Akin and your calls after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Call and ask Jimmy your question today on Catholic Answers Live.
Go forth and preach the good news. It's not just a suggestion. If you want to take more seriously the command of Jesus to share the gospel with those around you, consider joining St. Paul Street Evangelization. It's a grassroots organization that brings the Catholic faith to the streets in a non-confrontational way. Visit our website, www.streetevangelization.com, to learn more. And don't forget to like us on Facebook. It's time to do our part.
Summer is upon us, and though the temperatures are going up, the prices are coming down during Catholic Answers' first ever summer book sale in the online shop at Catholic.com. For a limited time, dozens of great books are available for $10, $5, even as low as $1 a copy. This is the time to load up on solid Catholic books for you, your friends, and your family. The spectacular online event offers savings of 50% and more on books by Jimmy Akin, Tim Staples, Rod Bennett, Gary Michuta, and a whole host of esteemed authors, evangelists, and apologists. We've even got all of the books in our Catholic Answers Classics series marked down. Log on now to shop.catholic.com and take advantage of what will be one of the most exciting sales of the summer. You know it's all good stuff because it's from the people you know and trust at Catholic Answers. Log on to shop.catholic.com and start saving today.
Hi, this is Trent Horn, and I'm really excited to tell you about a special limited-time offer we've got right now on subscriptions of our award-winning Catholic Answers magazine. Sign up today during our annual subscription drive, and not only can you save big bucks off the normal price, we'll give you a digital subscription of the magazine for free. Subscribe today by calling 818-487-2011 or by logging online to CatholicAnswersMagazine.com. Sign up for a 1-year subscription and we'll give you $10 off the normal price. But better yet, become a 2-year subscriber and we'll up the ante by dropping the price by $20. That's a savings of $10 to $20 plus a free digital subscription when you sign up for Catholic Answers Magazine. Act now because this is our best offer of the year and it's only available for a limited time. Subscribe to Catholic Answers Magazine before our annual subscription drive ends. Phone 818-487-2011 or go to CatholicAnswersMagazine.com.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live, open forum. Jimmy Akin, our guest. Jimmy is the author of A Daily Defense, 365 Days plus One to Becoming a Better Apologist. 365 challenges to the Catholic Church or to the Catholic belief or understanding presented there with one-page refutations of those challenges and explanations of the Church's teaching. That's why it's such a great book, and I highly recommend it to you. Jimmy's also a senior apologist here at Catholic Answers, and soon to be game show guest. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. Dustin in Ontario, Canada. You are up next with Jimmy Akin. Your question, please.
Hi, Jimmy. My question is, how would you respond to someone who says Islam and not Catholicism has true Hebrew roots? And as just a small example, someone has compared Islamic and traditional Jewish postures of prayer, which both include bowing, prostrating, and so on and so forth. And they have also put a side-by-side of the floor plan of the Second Temple and Masjid al-Haram in Mecca, showing that, pictorially, there's some evidence that, Islam and not Catholicism has true Hebrew roots. So how would we respond to such a claim?
I would say that the claim poses a false dilemma. More than one thing can have Hebrew roots. A given culture or religion can influence any number of other cultures or religions. And so it's quite true that there was contact between Muhammad and both Jewish and Christian groups, and both groups had an influence on Islam. I mean, both Jews and Christians are talked about in the Quran, and Muhammad did various things based on contact with Jews and Christians. And so the idea that we have to say, well, one of these religions exclusively has Hebrew roots is just false. So it's a false dilemma. Also, in regard to the answers you mentioned, the human postures of prayer are universal. Humans all over the world in every religion adopt different postures for prayer precisely to signal that something special is happening. If we just, assumed a normal posture and didn't do anything special with our body, it wouldn't signal that something is special, so that something special is happening when we pray. And so it's instinctive for humans, in keeping with prayer, regardless of the religion they belong to do something special with their bodies, and there are only a certain number of options, like bowing your head, bowing your body, prostrating yourself on the ground. Standing up is actually one that's used sometimes, but in every religion, you're going to tend to find these same postures, and they're all used in the Catholic Church too. Catholics bow their heads at the invocation of the three persons of the Trinity when they're named together. They bow their bodies in other circumstances. They kneel, they prostrate, especially during the rite of ordination of priests. They stand. That happens at every Mass for prayer. When the priest says, "Let us pray," everybody stands up. So all of these postures get used. They're not uniquely Muslim, they're not uniquely Christian, they're not even uniquely Jewish. In terms of the ground plan of the Second Temple being similar to a mosque somewhere, anybody can copy the ground plan of the Second Temple. You don't have to have divine revelation to be able to do that. The ground plan is right there in the Old Testament and in the Jewish historian Josephus. It's widely known. There are also churches modeled after it. There are also models of the Second Temple. So you don't need divine revelation for that. It's already out there and commonly known. I would say, if we do want to talk about whether Judaism or whether Christianity or Islam has a greater claim to Jewish heritage, I would say let's look at the fact that Christians accept the Old Testament as God's inspired, infallible word, and Muslims don't. They'll say that the Torah has been, or Taurat has been corrupted, so they don't accept all of the Old Testament revelation, whereas Christians do. Also, we have the resurrection of Jesus Christ as kind of a nice proof that he's part of God's plan, and he's able, therefore, to tell us about his role in God's plan, and he indicated that Christianity is the fulfillment of Judaism. So then we would progress to discussing, okay, are our records about Jesus and his teachings accurate? And the answer is going to be, yeah, they are. Historically, they have a much greater claim to being accurate than Muslim claims to the contrary. So, whereas if you look at evidence for Islam, you don't have anything like the resurrection of Jesus to show it. In fact, one of the things that happens repeatedly in the Quran is Muhammad has to defend against accusations of, why won't you show us a miracle? And he gives answers like, well, God won't let the prophet do a miracle. Or, well, there are miracles, look at nature, and the miracles of nature. Or, well, there will be a miracle on the last day when there's the resurrection of the dead. Or, God will get you. So a recurring theme is the absence of miraculous proof of Muhammad's ministry, whereas with Jesus, there are abundant miracles reported, and the resurrection in particular can survive significant cross-examination from other viewpoints.
Dustin, thanks so much for that question. The lines are pretty full, so I'm going to just keep moving. Hope that was helpful to you. Brittany in Ohio, you are next up with Jimmy Akin. Brittany, your question, please.
Yes. I'm just wondering about the last time that I tried to go to confession.
Mm-hmm.
I was unaware that it was canceled.
Okay.
And my priest didn't leave a note in the bulletin. There was no note on the door.
Oh.
And I know it was the exact time that it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I sat there and I prepared myself for confession.
Mm-hmm.
But I eventually left when people told me, well, he's not going to be here today.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean for me? I had no
Well,
mortal sins to confess,
Okay.
but I wanted to go to confession when I had the opportunity because I really don't get the opportunity very often.
Okay. Well, if you don't have any mortal sins to confess, then you don't need to go to confession. If you want to, that's fine, but you don't need to. And so you could, for example, go to communion at the next Mass that you attend. You don't have to go to confession first. You just need to observe the normal requirements of, being reverent and waiting for an hour before you receive communion, fasting for an hour before you receive communion, and that's fine.
Brittany?
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
No
Okay.
problem.
Well,
Hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Brittany. Appreciate that call.
Hopefully next time the priest will get better notification when confession is canceled.
Yeah, but they get sick or something too. That
Yeah,
stuff happens.
accidents can happen.
But is it kind of a general? I mean, when I listen to Brittany, I feel like saying, well, the effort that you made is good for your relationship with God. Like that's
Yeah,
something
sure.
God always welcomes, the
Yeah.
effort.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a spiritually meritorious act. That's fine. That's true. Also, it's possible, if someone did have mortal sins they needed to confess, by making an act of perfect contrition, which could be implied in the act of attempting to go to confession sacramentally, the person could be restored to a state of grace. They would still, under ordinary circumstances, though, need to go to sacramental confession before they could receive communion. But
Right.
Brittany indicated that that wasn't the case with her, so she didn't have to worry about that.
Again, thank you, Brittany. Kathy in Howell, I believe it is Michigan. You are on with Jimmy Akin. Kathy, your question, please.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Great,
Yeah.
actually.
Okay, perfect.
You're
I
like
won't
the
move.
model. I wish everybody sounded like this. This is perfect, Kathy.
Okay, great.
Have you considered a
have an-
career narrating audiobooks?
Oh, good. Well, I could use some extra work. I have an ongoing back and forth with a Protestant talk show host in my area. I've been bugging him for about 15 years. And one of the things I often go toe-to-toe with him on is invincible ignorance.
Okay.
He is evangelical type of Protestant, and he believes, he's kind of Calvinistic and believes in the idea of total depravity and that all non-Christians will go to hell. And so I have a couple questions. Number one, how do I refute total depravity, especially as it relates to invincible ignorance? And one of the verses he always brings up is that our acts are as filthy rags. So he always says there's nothing we can do that's pleasing to God. And then secondly, I was trying to read up on this a little bit, and I went on the Catholic Answers website, and I read some information that said that an unjustified person cannot perform any supernaturally good act. And so do I understand that to mean that an invincibly ignorant person is already justified? Or how does that statement fit in with invincible ignorance if they can't perform any supernaturally good act?
So, what was the statement you said you saw on the web?
I think I was trying to read about it must have been under the topic of justification, and I was trying to understand. I was trying to just get an understanding of how a person who doesn't know God but who still follows their conscience get an explanation of how we view them, that they can still have access to grace, and they could still perform a good act.
I understand that. What was the statement you read that you're asking about?
I think I'm quoting it verbatim.
Okay.
That an unjustified person cannot perform any supernaturally good act.
Okay. So I'd say several things, and I'll have to say them quickly because we're about to hit a hard break. In terms of dealing with total depravity and other Calvinist issues, I'd suggest you go to my personal website, jimmyakin.com. I have a paper there called A Tiptoe Through Tulip. If you Google Tulip and Jimmy Akin, it'll come up. Tulip includes total depravity, and so it'll go through that as well as other Calvinist doctrines. In terms of invincible ignorance, just the fact that you're ignorant of the truth doesn't mean you're justified. You have to, in addition to being innocently ignorant, also be willing to follow the truth if you knew it. You have to have goodwill. So if you knew the truth about God, well, then you would embrace the Christian faith. If you weren't willing to embrace the Christian faith, even though you knew it's true, then you aren't invincibly ignorant. You are vincibly ignorant. You have a bad will, and it's not going to, and it creates a barrier between you and God. As to the saying that an unjustified person can't do any supernaturally good work, that's true, but it operates along a different axis than the question of invincible ignorance. If someone is invincibly ignorant and willing to follow God if they knew the truth about him, then they will be in a state of justification, and they will be able to do something supernaturally good. So that's the question of invincible ignorance is really a separate issue than are you justified or not. You may be invincibly ignorant and justified, in which case you can do supernaturally good works, or you may know the truth about God and be justified and be able to do supernaturally good works. You can also, if you're in a state of mortal sin, know the truth about God, not be justified, and not be able to do supernaturally good works. Or you can be vincibly ignorant, not justified, and not able to do supernaturally good works. So there are a number of possibilities there.
Okay. What about the statement about filthy rags, that verse?
So that's from Isaiah 64, and my memory, it's been a while since I looked at it, but my memory is that is a misreading of the text. However, I'll want to glance over the text of Isaiah just to refresh my memory, and we'll deal with it on the other side of the break.
Okay, Kathy, can you hang on just a little bit? Okay, thank you. It is open forum today on Catholic Answers Live, so if you got a question for Jimmy, 888-318-7884 is the number. Tim Ryland was in here just a little bit ago, and that reminds me, because he publishes the magazine. We're offering $10 off a one-year subscription on Catholic Answers magazine right now, $20 off the two-year subscription price, and with either of those subscriptions, you get a free digital subscription. Only 10 more days to take advantage of this offer. It ends when June ends. You just go to CatholicAnswersMagazine.com and sign up. I really don't think you will be disappointed. Catholic Answers Magazine, under Tim's direction, is one of the finest Catholic publications you'll get anywhere. Just go to CatholicAnswersMagazine.com and get your discount today. We'll be right back with more Open Forum right after this.
We'll be right back with more Catholic Answers Live.
Divine Intimacy Radio.
When you engage with the wisdom of saints this way, it stokes the fires of God in our hearts, encourages us, strengthens us, and gives us wisdom to deal with the difficulties of life. It also gives us wisdom that allows us to rise above all of the junk, to live with joy and peace in the midst of even the most difficult circumstances.
Divine Intimacy Radio, Sunday, 6:30 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
God helps those who help themselves. Preach the gospel always. When necessary, use words. We all hear sayings like these, and we assume they come from the Bible, the saints, or famous Christian writers. Nobody can seem to place their origin, but by sheer repetition, they've acquired a halo of truth. In my new book, What the Saints Never Said, I look at over 40 of these well-known sayings and track them back to their original sources. You'll be surprised at what I found. Some are close to what was really said. Many were misattributed or twisted beyond their original meaning, and more than a few of these sayings were simply made up. I hope by setting the record straight, I can make you aware of the theological errors that can lead us away from the faith and offer you authentic quotes from Scripture, saints, and scholars that will draw you closer to our faith. Get your copy of What the Saints Never Said by calling 1-888-291-8000, by visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or by asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Would you like to become a Catholic Answers Live parish partner? We need you to help us spread the word at your local parish. We'll give you bumper stickers, window clings, flyers, everything you need to let your parish know about the best Catholic radio show on the air. We want you to partner with us. Email us at calpartners@catholic.com today and become a Catholic Answers parish partner. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Jimmy Akin's our guest. And when we went to the break, we were talking with Kathy in Michigan, asking about total depravity, and particularly you're going to have to clear this up, dirty rags.
So there's this verse in Isaiah 64. It's Isaiah 64:5, where Isaiah at one point says, "All our works are like filthy rags," and that's actually a euphemism. What it actually indicates is more like used tampons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a very vivid image in Hebrew. And in Calvinist circles, it's common to take this passage and say, well, see, this proves that every single action we do is damn worthy. That just in every action we're sinning mortally, and God would be justified in sending us to hell for anything we do, even things that are outwardly righteous.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one understanding. It's not the only understanding, but it's one understanding that is often encountered of this idea of total depravity. There are other better understandings in the Protestant community as well, but including in the Calvinist community, but this is one that you hear. The problem is, like many passages from the Bible, and especially from the prophets, you really can't get all of that out of this verse, because prophets the Bible is not written in technical theological language. It's not like St. Thomas Aquinas, where every term is defined. There's a lot of ambiguity in the text, which is one of the reasons we have all these disagreements about what it means. And in particular, the prophets use lots of symbols and lots of figures of speech like hyperbole.
Mm-hmm.
Hyperbole is exaggeration to make a point. So they'll say things in a especially dramatic, vivid way that they don't mean literally. Like when Jesus says, if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. He doesn't mean literally cut your hand off. Or pluck out your eye. He doesn't mean literally pluck out your eye. He means do whatever it takes to deal with sin in your life.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a bold, vivid way of phrasing it, a hyperbolic way, to get people to remember it and take it seriously. Well, that's similar to what Isaiah is doing. Isaiah is not indicating that every single action a human commits is damn worthy. Okay, they don't. In fact, in Isaiah's day, that concept isn't really even clearly perceived. One of the things you find when you read the Old Testament is almost all the time the focus is on salvation or cursing in this life, not the next. That's what comes into focus in the New Testament. So actually, if you read Isaiah 64, you read the whole thing, you'll find out that Isaiah is talking about a period in Israel's history where they are experiencing judgment because of their sins as a nation. And so he mentions, for example, the temple has been burned with fire by the Babylonians, and he's asking God to have mercy on the nation and things like that. So he's describing this particular period of judgment. He's not talking about all people at all times when he says in verse 5, in verse 6, actually, we have all become like one who is unclean, and all our righteous deeds are like a filthy cloth. This is a state Israel has entered into. They've become like this. But you back up, read the previous verse, verse 5, and he's talking to God, and he says, you meet those who gladly do right, and who remember you in your ways. So right there, the previous verse, guess what? There are people who gladly do right and remember God in his ways. And God
gladly
meets those people.
Yeah.
So you clearly can't get out of the next verse, absolutely every human action is damn worthy, when the previous verse is talking about how God approves human actions when they gladly do right and remember him in his ways.
So Kathy, that helps you?
That's great. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for the call.
Lots of ammo.
That's what you need, ammo. I appreciate it, Kathy. It's open forum. We go next to Timothy in Peoria, Illinois. Timothy, your question for Jimmy Akin.
Hi, I was just wanting to ask about what is the foundation for believing that the Roman Catholic Church is the one true church? And I mean, I know the Roman Catholic Church has the three, pillars upon which it bases its authority, but Is there like one that you go back to support the idea that it's a one true infallible church?
Okay, so infallibility is a separate question. I'm going to peel that one away. Also, I'm going to peel away the term Roman, because the name of the church that it uses for itself is the Catholic Church. If you say Roman Catholic, it means a particular part of the Catholic Church known as the Roman Rite or the Latin Rite. And that's most Catholics, but not all of them. There are non-Roman Catholics who are in communion with the Pope and are just as much Catholics as anybody else. Examples include Chaldean Catholics, Maronite Catholics, all kinds of different Catholics. So why would we say the Catholic Church represents the original church founded by Jesus? Well, I have a paper on my personal website, jimmyakin.com, called Why Be Catholic? An Exercise for Evangelicals. And in that paper, I go into this question in a lot of depth. It's a talk I once gave actually at an evangelical seminary. So it includes a substantial amount of meat, and I'd suggest you check that out. Again, it's called Why Be Catholic? An Exercise for Evangelicals, and it's at jimmyakin.com. To give a brief answer, well, Jesus indicated in Matthew 16 that he's going to found a single church. He says, I'm going to found my church. And he uses the singular in Greek, not my churches. So there's one church that Jesus founded in the first century. Also, he indicated it's never going to pass out of existence. He said the gates of hell will never prevail against it. Literally, he said the gates of Hades. Sometimes that's translated powers of death, but since Hades was the place of the dead, not the place of the damned specifically, we know what he means is it's never going to die. It's never going to pass into the realm of the dead. And so his church is always going to survive. So therefore, Jesus founded one church in the first century that continues down to today. We then have the question of, okay, is it a visible church or an invisible church? Because in the Protestant community, it's sometimes proposed, frequently proposed, that it's really Jesus' church is the invisible spiritual union of all true believers. Well, one of the things about invisible spiritual unions is you don't know who's a member of it. And consequently, you can't discipline them, and you can't excommunicate them, and you can't include them, and things like that. You can't mark their comings and goings and deliberately include or exclude people. And that's different than what we find Jesus describing about his church, because he tells Peter, and later he shares this with other disciples, that they have the power to bind and loose. And whatever they bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever they loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Well, this phrase doesn't come out of nowhere. This was an established phrase in first century Palestinian Judaism. We know that because it is also discussed in the Jewish historian Josephus later in the first century. And based on Josephus and some other texts, but based on Josephus, one of the things we know it includes is the ability to make authoritative rules of conduct for the community, to either authoritatively forbid things or authoritatively permit things. At one point, Josephus discusses how during the reign of a particular Jewish queen, the Pharisees had the power to bind and loose. And so they were the ones making the rules under this queen who favored the Pharisees. Well, if Jesus is then giving Peter and the other disciples the ability to bind and loose, that means he's giving them the ability to legislate, to make authoritative rules of conduct for the Christian community. And that means a visible church that has real members who are subject to these laws and who could be excluded if they don't obey them. He even talks about that in Matthew 18, about if they don't listen to the church, let them be to you like a tax collector or a Gentile, i.e. an outsider. So they're excluded from the Christian community. Paul also talks about that in his epistles, where he talks about the need to excommunicate people in certain occasions. Also, we know one other thing about this church. It's built on Peter. Now, I know there's a controversy about that, and I don't really have time to go into all the details here, but they're in that paper I mentioned, Why Be Catholic? An Exercise for Evangelicals. I used to be of the opinion that Jesus was not talking about Peter there, but I realized there are structural features in the text that indicate when Jesus says, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church," he's talking about Peter. Peter is the rock. And so when I realized that, I realized, okay, we've got one church founded by Jesus in the first century. It continues today. It's a visible church with leaders capable of passing authoritative laws for the Christian community with a visible defined membership, and it's initially led by Peter. Well, that sounds like the Catholic Church. And so there's more to say on all that. Like, one of the things I would want to do is show that in addition to Peter, Peter has successors in ministry. That would take us a little further afield, but those are the general lines of argument that I would propose in arguing why the Catholic Church is uniquely the Church of Christ.
How does that sit with you, Timothy?
I guess good overall. It just seemed like, so I guess I'm just wondering, so the foundation then is the words of Christ talking about Peter being the rock of the church, so to speak.
And everything else,
is that
Jesus.
essentially what you're saying is the foundation?
No, I'm saying the foundation is divine revelation. It includes what Peter said, what Jesus said to Peter about his role, but it also includes other factors about his church as well.
And Timothy, we're going to have to leave it there. We've got to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Jimmy Akin Open Forum on Catholic Answers Live right after this.
This is Harry Connick Jr., and you're listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Sharing the gospel with family and friends can be challenging. It's especially hard when they won't even hear you out because of all the mental roadblocks they've built up. This is Carlo Broussard, and in my new book, Prepare the Way, my aim is to help you tackle that essential first step to apologetics and evangelization, getting people to listen with an open mind. Even our best witness can bounce right off folks like these if we don't prepare the way first, breaking down barriers and leaving minds and souls free to encounter the truth. I'll give you evidence and arguments and step-by-step strategies based on asking the right questions to help them overcome their obstacles and make a straight path for the Lord. Order your copy of Prepare the Way today by calling 1-888-291-8000, visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Right now, Catholic Answers is conducting its summer campaign. We're going into the lean summer months, and we're forecasting a shortfall of $220,000 before our income picks up again later in the year. This is a crucial time because we need to offset that drop in donations. To make your donation and get your special thank you gifts, visit Catholic.com and click the Summer Campaign banner. Or call us toll-free at 888-291-8000. That's the Summer Campaign banner at Catholic.com, or call toll-free 888-291-8000.
Are you a coffee drinker? If so, you can now enjoy a coffee roasted to perfection by the Carmelite monks of Wyoming. Delicious Mystic Monk coffee is roasted and prepared by monks in a hidden cloistered monastery and is available in over 25 varieties. All Mystic Monk coffees are works of perfection and labors of love. For more information on how to purchase Mystic Monk coffee, visit mysticmonkcoffee.com. That's mysticmonkcoffee.com.
Catholic Answers Live is brought to you in part by CatholicSingles.com, the website for Catholics who want to meet others who share their Catholic values for faith, fellowship, and love. You can learn more at CatholicSingles.com. Catholic Answers Live thanks CatholicSingles.com for their generous support.
Call now with your question, 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
In fact, it's Open Forum on Catholic Answers Live, and we're taking questions whether you're Catholic or not. We welcome your question on any aspect of the Catholic faith, Christian faith, or religion more generally. 888-318-7884, the number. We go now to Nathan in Texas. Nathan, your question for Jimmy Akin.
Hey, Jimmy and Cy, how's it going?
Good, thank you.
Hey, man, it's really good to talk to you guys. I just have a couple of questions here. A very dear priest that I love very much who baptized my son, my youngest son, on Father's Day, actually. I haven't seen him in a couple of years, and, I asked somebody about him that knew him, and apparently, from a very, very good source, he is no longer a priest now. He is now married. And I have two questions in reference to this. Not only that, I'm very, very hurt and just, my heart hurts.
Yeah.
But anyway, my first question is, one, is my youngest son's baptism still valid, even though he's not a priest, but his name is on the baptismal certificate? And two, how do we go about evangelizing to people who these things happen in the church, but know that we should never leave truth? Just because these things happen, we love God more than we love people. So how can we do that? And I'll just go ahead and listen to your response there.
Okay.
Thank you, Nathan.
In regard to the first question, what later happens to a priest has absolutely no bearing on the validity of the sacraments he performed in ministry. So, he could die, he could become a heretic, he could turn into a Martian. It doesn't matter. Anybody can baptize, in fact. You don't even need to be a priest to be able to validly baptize. Now, under ordinary circumstances, unless it's an emergency, it should be a priest or deacon who's doing the baptism. But it's actually not even required in terms of sacramental validity. So even if he hadn't been a priest at all, it wouldn't affect the validity of your son's baptism, and it certainly doesn't reach back in time and undo the baptism that was there. Defecting from the priesthood does not change history. So don't have to worry about that. In terms of the other question, well, I'd encourage, I don't know the circumstances of what happened with this gentleman, and different things happen with different individuals. So I don't know whether he just jumped ship and then got civilly married and abandoned his ministry. I don't know if that's what happened, or if something else happened, like he began to discern that this really wasn't his vocation, and he entered a period of intense reflection and discernment on that, and went to his bishop and said, I've been doing this, and I love people, and I want to serve God, but I just don't think this is the way for me. And I'd like to be laicized, because there's a specific procedure the church has for people who realize that the priesthood wasn't their vocation. They can be laicized or returned to the lay state. Now, they're still sacramentally ordained as priests, and in an emergency, they could still hear your confession, if you were dying or something. But they function in the church as laity. And one of the things that commonly happens when a priest is laicized is he's also released from his obligation of celibacy, so that he can then go on and get married. And so there are men in the Catholic Church who were ordained as priests, but who discerned that actually wasn't their vocation, and they went to the church and got permission to be returned to the lay state and permission to marry, and then they got married in the Catholic Church, and they're validly married today. And the church obviously doesn't want to encourage people to leave priestly ministry, but it recognizes that sometimes that's what needs to happen, and it has provisions for that to happen. And so merely the fact this gentleman left the priesthood and got married, according to what you've been told, isn't a sign that he did anything wrong. And so I wouldn't frame it in terms of, abandoning the truth or something like that. I would, in keeping with St. Paul's exhortation in Philippians 2 to be humble and presume others better than yourself, I would assume his goodwill in all of this until the contrary might be proved.
Nathan, thanks so much for the question. And now, when you say even if he became a Martian, you mean if he traveled to Mars and became a citizen of Mars, not like that he would...
I was thinking of something a little more dramatic than that.
Like a little green man?
Even let's go more extreme. Let's say he became a prime number. Okay, now that's not ontologically possible.
You can't become a prime number.
Right, but even if you could, it wouldn't affect the validity of baptisms you had performed while human.
All right. As a matter of fact, I believe I'm correct in saying this. You will have to correct me. But if I have the right intention, even a non-Christian could baptize someone in an emergency.
Yep, included in the term everyone.
Oh, okay. So everyone includes even non-Christians.
Yeah.
I'm glad you clarified that for me. Maybe that had a little... I hope that my bias wasn't showing.
Good to make these things explicit.
I should probably listen when you're giving an answer. Chase in Harrisburg, Virginia, watching on YouTube. Thanks for watching on YouTube, Chase. Your question for Jimmy.
Hi. Yeah, good to talk to you again, Si. my question is such that, so I was talking to a friend about is there absolute truth? And I was wondering, in the context of thinking of a person with antisocial personality disorder, can they connect to a sense of absolute truth that would lead them towards God? Because I guess the counterclaim could be like, how is that fair for someone who maybe is perceived as not having a conscience, but really is more so described under the disorder as not kind of having a history of like reckless behavior and not following laws, not feeling sorry for what they do, and so that's my question.
So how would you phrase it as a question?
Can individuals with antisocial personality disorder connect to a sense of absolute truth?
Well, they usually have a sense of absolute truth. And one of the characteristics of antisocial personality disorder is an intense inability to suffer insults. They will fly off the handle at a loss of face, and may even fly into a homicidal rage. And so just because you have a problem with antisocial personality disorder doesn't mean you don't understand the concept of truth. Usually they have a very vivid awareness of certain truths, like I want to protect my face. I don't want to lose face in front of other people. I don't want to be insulted. And they therefore realize other truths, like other people are real and they can cost me face. And there are ways I can defend myself and things like that. So they have a disordered approach to dealing with other human beings, but they understand basic truths. Now, in terms of can they relate to God, which I suspect you may be asking, and find salvation in that way, well, they're certainly challenged because one of the characteristics of antisocial personality disorder is lack of empathy. They have a hard time empathizing with other human beings, and therefore they have a hard time genuinely loving other human beings and willing their good. And obviously the love ethic is extremely important in Christianity. Having said that, Jesus acknowledges that, and he does it in a bit of a different context, but he acknowledges that God doesn't hold people accountable for things that aren't their own fault. And so if someone has antisocial personality disorder and that makes it difficult, not saying impossible, but difficult for them to connect with God, then God will take that into account. This is, in a way, a parallel to invincible ignorance. They may not actually be ignorant, but they may have an impairment of the will because of their antisocial disorder that makes it harder for them to connect with God. But God is capable of looking beyond just the surface operation of their consciousness and seeing their heart, the true core of their being, and saying, okay, if we factor out the antisocial tendencies this person has to deal with, are they fundamentally willing to accept my grace or not? If they are, then God will give them his grace. And so it's possible for anybody, including someone with antisocial personality disorder, to be saved. It may not manifest in visible conversion in this life, or if it does, there could still be questions about how much is this person really living the Christian faith. But God offers the possibility of salvation to everyone, including people who have every psychological disorder you can imagine, including this one.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Chase. Yeah. And by everyone, you mean Christians and
non-Christians included, yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right. All right. I guess we'll head to William in Ohio. I feel like I already talked to William in Ohio. I'm confused. Well, let's see. William in Ohio, have we spoken to you already?
Not on this stream.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just got myself confused.
William, we're just about up to the end of the hour. What's your question so I can give you a good answer?
Okay. First, I keep getting attacked and saying, well, you Catholics put Mary above God.
Mm-hmm.
How do I defend that?
Great question,
Okay,
William.
so,
Great, thank you.
So let me ask a follow-up question. What do people offer as evidence for Catholics putting Mary above God when they make this claim to you? Do they offer you any kind of evidence?
They say, well, there's the Rosary and there's Hail Mary.
Okay, so, well, simply all we do in the Hail Mary is ask Mary to pray for us, just like we ask other Christians to pray for us here on earth. So that's not putting anybody above God. Now, sometimes you'll have people say, oh, well, the Rosary has, 50 or 150 prayers, depending on how much of it you say, and you're talking to Mary more than you're talking to God. Well, that doesn't mean you put her above God. You also probably talk to your wife and your boss and your children more than you actually talk to God. At least most people do. But that doesn't mean they don't understand that God is infinitely important, whereas their spouse and boss and children are not God. So the mere frequency doesn't tell you what's most important to somebody. We're perfectly capable of recognizing God as the infinite creator and Mary as a finite creature, regardless of number counting about how much we talk to someone. What's in our heart is what's most important, not some kind of frequency count.
William, we'll leave it there because we got to go. Appreciate the clarity of that question right there at the end of the show. Jimmy Akin, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for being with us, Cy Kellett.
Will you come back tomorrow?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, thank you. You can find out, a couple times you mentioned your website. It's jimmyakin.com, right?
Yep.
Jimmyakin.com if you want to find those materials Jimmy mentioned before. Next hour, Mark Brumley will be here with us, the president of Ignatius Press. So if you're on the line, stay on the line. If you haven't dialed yet, 888-31-TRUTH is the number. More Open Forum on Catholic Answers Live right after this.
This is Pat Buchanan. You're listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Hey everyone, Carlo Broussard here. Can you feel the heat? Summer is upon us. Things are heating up, my friends, and that includes our first ever summer book sale and the online shop at Catholic.com. For a limited time, we've got dozens of great books offered at $10, $5, even as low as $1 a copy. So you can load up on solid Catholic books for yourself, your friends, and your family. This spectacular online event offers saving of 50% and more on books by Jimmy Akin, Tim Staples, Rod Bennett, Gary Machuda, and a whole host of esteemed authors, evangelists, and apologists, including yours truly. We've even got all of the books in our Catholic Answers Classics series marked down. Log on now and all this month to the store at shop.catholic.com and take advantage of what will be one of the most exciting sales of the summer. You know it's all good stuff because it's from the people you know and trust at Catholic Answers. Log on to shop.catholic.com and start saving today.
How would you like to have the very best and faithful Catholic content delivered daily to your inbox? Articles, video, and audio, apologetics, current events, and commentary. The Catholic Answers Daily newsletter includes all that and more, and it's easy to sign up. Just visit Catholic.com today and look for the newsletter sign-up box on the front page. Keep up with what's happening in the Catholic Church with today's leading apologists, speakers, and writers, delivered daily to your inbox. Catholic Answers Daily. Sign up today at Catholic.com and get better at defending your faith one day at a time.
Are faith and science compatible? The world tells us no, but history shows otherwise. For it is in the Christian West that the pursuit of science has flourished. Our challenge is in reconciling the divide between faith and science in the popular imagination. Join us this September 27th to the 30th as we tackle the topic at Catholic Answers' 5th National Apologetics Conference, Faith and Science. A lively and inspiring conference designed to jumpstart Jumpstart Your Faith. We've got an all-star lineup of speakers guaranteed to make you think. Catholic scientist theologians, Stacy Trasankos and Father Terrence Ehrman, all of your favorite Catholic Answers apologists, and special keynote speaker Raymond Leo Cardinal Burke. This is where it all begins. Join us this September for a conference that is sure to leave you wanting more. Early bird pricing ends July 2nd. Seats are still available, but they're going fast. Visit CatholicAnswersConference.com or call 1-888-291-8000 today to register. That's CatholicAnswersConference.com.
Would you like to become a Catholic Answers Live parish partner? We need you to help us spread the word at your local parish. We'll give you bumper stickers, window clings, flyers, everything you need to let your parish know about the best Catholic radio show on the air. We want you to partner with us. Email us at calpartners@catholic.com today and become a Catholic Answers parish partner.
The world is changing. The days of picking up a paperback book or popping a DVD or compact disc in the player have given way to the digital age. The good news is that the shop at Catholic.com has joined the digital revolution. Check out the new digital platform at shop.catholic.com, where all of our DVDs, books, and audio products are now available in digital form for you to purchase and download at your convenience, anywhere you go. For that matter, anywhere in the world. We've got hundreds of offerings, so visit shop.catholic.com today and check out our selection. That's shop.catholic.com.
Looking for an on-fire Catholic speaker for your event? Catholic Answers speakers will inform and inspire your audience to grow in their Catholic faith. For more information on booking a Catholic Answers speaker, visit CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com today.
Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to our second great big hour of Thursday Open Forum here on Catholic Answers Live. And I was a little confused last hour. I said that the wrong person was coming in. I gave the wrong name of who was coming in. So I apologize for that. But it's Patrick Madrid, so it's not going to be a letdown. So just let me off the hook for the fact that I said that. Do you know what I did, Patrick?
Yeah, who did you say?
I said
Did
Mark
you say
Brumley.
Patrick Coffin?
No, I said Mark Brumley.
Never heard of him.
You never heard? I believe you have heard of Mark Brumley. I think you may have worked with him. I'm not sure about the timing, but
I did.
You guys were
Long
here
ago.
at Catholic Answers together?
We were. I started in early, like January, early 1988. And I think Mark started either at the end of that year or early in 89, right around that time.
Man,
it was long ago.
88, I think I was in kindergarten that year.
I think you were.
Nah, I wasn't 28 in kindergarten. Or 24. I guess I was 24 at the time. I know you think that that's a possibility, Patrick, but I wasn't. Yeah, so let me even, I even want to go into an explanation for you why I said Mark Brumley and not Patrick Madrid. I have to record promos for next week for the EWTN network. And so I just wrote the script of what I would say on Thursday next week, and Mark Brumley's on Thursday next week. So I came into the studio today, and I didn't travel back to the correct date. I was still a week ahead in my mind. So I have not done a proper introduction of Patrick Madrid. For those few of you who are listening who don't know Patrick, he's one of the finest apologists and evangelists in the world. He's written many, many books and is currently amazingly the host of the Patrick Madrid Show across the nation, even far out into the Pacific Ocean on the Relevant Radio Network. How was that for an introduction, Patrick? Did you get it all?
I love it. I love it. The only thing we might want to tell them is when I'm on. I'm on in the mornings from 9 to noon Eastern, 6 to 9 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Okay, so 6. Yeah, that sounded wrong because I come in to work with you in the morning, and you're sometimes joined by Kaylin as well.
Yeah, Kaylin Green.
I hear her on there every now and then. What is her? Is she like the producer, or what's her title there?
Kaylin is she's a content producer. There are a couple different producers for the show, and she takes care of like ferreting out information, vetting things, getting stories ready to go. So she's heavy into research. That's what she does. She does a great job too.
She's one of those. I have this feeling of renewal in the church because of people like Kaylin. There are these young people who are not burdened with all the struggles the church went through in the 70s and 80s. They don't know anything about it. It's not part of their thing. I mean, if they know about it, they know it historically. Right. And they're so well prepared. They went, many of them, to these wonderful Catholic colleges. And don't they give you hope for the future, these young people?
Oh, definitely. Kaylin is a good example. She's mid to late mid 20s, verging on late 20s, and you're right. She was a child at best during the insanity of the 70s and 80s, and so she kind of came into her adult years post all of that stuff.
Yeah, right.
So she doesn't have a living memory of it, but. I do agree with you. There is a lot of hope for the youth in the church, based on what I can see.
Yeah, we got a bunch of them here. You probably have them at Relevant Radio. We got a bunch of them here at Catholic Answers, and I feel like, wow, they're just on fire, and they're happy, joyful people like Kaylin. They're not. Yeah. They're not like. There's just nothing creepy about them. It fills me with hope. 888-318-7884 is our number. 888-31-TRUTH if you want to talk with Patrick Madrid, the host of the Patrick Madrid Show mornings on the Relevant Radio Network, and the author of many things, and including many. I'm sure many people know you, Patrick, because of the Surprised by Truth books, which were your idea and your production, and they have some of the best conversion stories you will ever read.
Thank you. Well, I have to give all the credit to the men and women who contributed these chapters to these books. I had the idea, but they're the ones who really blessed the readers with stories that are so powerful, stories of God's grace, in some cases people who were adamantly opposed to the Catholic Church. And in one way or another, God reached through all of their objections and wound up bringing them home to the Catholic Church. There are 4 volumes in that series, and you have Surprised by Truth 1, 2, and 3, and then the 4th volume that just came out a year or so ago is called Surprised by Life.
Yeah.
But they all have the same end game, which is they all wind up becoming Catholic, and it's dramatic and amazing, the stories that they tell in these books.
And I feel bad, Patrick, because I think you came right through my town with about 100 people on your last pilgrimage, which was to the California missions. And I was going to go out with a protest sign while you all drove by, and I completely forgot. And now
that would have been fun. I would have posted pictures of that on Twitter. If
I know. I thought it would have been great. Like, find something to protest about Patrick Madrid and just stand out there.
Just watch my Twitter feed, and you'll see plenty of people who have things that they don't like about Patrick Madrid.
But now, where are you going next?
Well, thanks for asking. I'm leading a pilgrimage to England and Scotland. That'll be this October, from the 6th to the 15th of October. And it's not just any old pilgrimage. People might think, England, why would you go there? Well, because of the English martyrs.
Yeah.
There's a rich and magnificent history of the Catholic Church in England that took an abrupt turn about 500 years ago under King Henry VIII. So we're going to walk in the footsteps of the English martyrs, and St. John Fisher, St. Thomas More, the martyrs of Tyburn. We're going to go to all the important Catholic sites and see things that the average person doesn't even know exist in England. So that's what I'll be doing in October, the 6th through the 15th. And if I can mention how to find out more, just go to you can go to canterburypilgrimages.com/Patrick Madrid. Be sure to put the /Patrick Madrid on there. That way you'll be able to find that page. But all the info is there.
Some of the greatest saints in the history of the church there. St. John Fisher is just one of the most magnificent people you could ever read about. So you'll see where St. John Fisher was a bishop.
Was martyred.
And where he's martyred.
Yeah, we'll go to the Tower of London, excuse me. So we'll see places like the cell where St. Thomas More was held, and where he did his oral defense against the divines of the Anglican Church who tried to out-argue him. We'll see sites involved with St. Edmund Campion. We'll see the place where the martyrs were killed at Tyburn, which is a suburb of London. And we'll be going all around England, so it won't just be there. We'll also be doing a lot of John Henry Newman stuff, getting up to Birmingham and seeing the oratory and where John Henry Newman lived. Blessed John Henry Newman. So I'm super excited about this, and I hope the people listening will check it out at canterburypilgrimages.com/Patrick Madrid.
Well, Patrick, this happens when you're on about 1 million lines full right now. We don't even have 1 million lines, and 1 million lines are full. So we'll go to calls if that's all right with you.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, open forum today on Catholic Answers Live with our guest Patrick Madrid. We go now to Bob, somewhere out there in the universe. Bob, your question for Patrick.
Hey guys, good talking to you.
You too. Thank you, Bob.
I'm looking at returning to the church. I guess you'd call it a revert. I guess that's the right word.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
But there's two stumbling blocks. The first one, during the years that I left the church, I joined the Masonic Lodge, and I didn't realize until recently that there were issues with that.
Okay.
Do I need to resign?
Yes, you do. In short form, yes, you do. Catholics cannot be Masons, and there are a variety of reasons for that, including the church's canon law, which, although the word Mason or Masonry was removed in the most recent edition of canon law, the previous condemnations maintain their same force. They fall under the same canon that forbids Catholics from joining secret associations. If you would like a broad and panoramic series of reasons why Catholics cannot be Masons and why I would urge you to leave the Masons and as you come back to the Catholic Church, let me recommend 2 books by John Salza. The first is called Why Catholics Cannot Be Masons, and it's a short book. It'll take you all of an hour or two to read that one. And then there's a longer book by the same author, John Salza. It's called Freemasonry Unmasked. I believe both are published by our Sunday Visitor, if I'm not mistaken. And the longer book will give you a much broader history of Freemasonry. Now, John Salza himself was, at the time that he wrote these books, or I'm sorry, shortly before he converted back to the Catholic Church, he was a 33rd degree Mason. So he had an immense amount of firsthand information, and he brings that to bear in explaining why there's a problem with Masonry and how it's incompatible with the Catholic faith. I would argue it's incompatible with Christianity as such, but since you're coming home to the Catholic Church, it has special meaning for you.
Okay. I'll definitely look into those. The second and last issue to bring up is that, of course, I am a single guy, and it seems like the church places greater value on married couples, and I would like to get married someday. I know that the Catholic Church and marriage and kids seem to go hand in hand, but I don't think that's a good idea for me to start doing that at middle age. I'm a middle-aged guy.
Well, it doesn't mean you couldn't if you found the right woman and you and she fell in love and there was an opportunity to get married. I mean, I would remain hopeful if that's the desire of your heart and ask the Lord for that. I'll give you an example in my own experience, Bob. My wife and I are very close friends with a family, a couple and their children, and the husband died of cancer a few years ago. And we've only ever known them as a married couple. But now the wife, who's a widow and has been for several years now, she has emerged from her time of grieving, and she's still young. I mean, I'm trying to think of how old she is. She's probably, I don't know, maybe 50 at the most, maybe slightly older than that, but very young and vital. And she has found a man with whom she has fallen in love, and he was never married. And he is of about the same age. So he is middle-aged, and they seem to be a wonderful couple. And I wouldn't be surprised if they wind up getting married in due time. So I know personally, even just him, a guy who thought he would never get married, and presto, God brought this woman into his life, and it could happen for you too. I would just say keep praying and asking God if that's what you desire.
Okay, that's certainly food for thought.
Have you joined one of the Catholic singles, like CatholicSingles.com or CatholicMatch.com, any of those? Have you looked at that?
I've looked at them online. I haven't joined yet, but I'm looked into it. I just want to make sure. I know that, the internet can be the Wild West. I just want to make sure I'm finding the right place.
Well, I have some personal experience with CatholicSingles.com. I mean, I should probably clarify.
Wait a second.
Yeah. No, I know the owner of CatholicSingles.com, and I've spent some time at his behest looking at some of the things that they offer to their members by way of giving him some suggestions. But it's a very good site, very well run, very well operated. I understand the same is true of Catholic Singles. I'm also aware of Ave Maria Singles. There are a variety of them out there that have good reputations, and they do a good job, to greater or lesser extents, they do a good job of kind of helping to focus your searches so that you can find a potential spouse who is going to be serious about the Catholic faith like you are. So you might want to start there. But actually, I don't think I answered your question. The Catholic Church welcomes single people of whatever age and just does whatever it can to encourage them to seek God's will for their lives. Some people are called to the single life, and it's not a vocation in the, you don't typically think of a vocation to the single life. Typically, we think in terms of a vocation to the priesthood or the religious life, as well as a vocation to the married life. That would be by far the preponderance of people who have a calling from God. But there are people for whom the single life is what God plans for them, and that can be very fruitful and rich and fulfilling. It's a matter of seeking God's will, whatever your state in life might be, seeking God's will, and then do your very best by His grace to fulfill that, and you'll be happy.
That was well put. I'll have to ponder that.
Well, you can ponder it by just playing it back, because it goes up on Facebook right after the show's over. You can just play, or YouTube or whatnot. And Bob, we're very grateful for the call, and congratulations on your moving back towards the Catholic Church.
Definitely.
We need you, Bob.
That's awesome.
Come on back in. We also got to take a break, though, Bob, so we'll do that right now. We'll be right back with more Open Forum on Catholic Answers Live with Patrick Madrid right after this.
Catholic Answers. Our success depends on you.
Hello, my friends. Summer is here. That means summer reading. I have great news. Catholic Answers is having its first ever summer book sale in the online shop at Catholic.com. For a limited time, you can get dozens of great books offered at $10, $5, even as low as $1 a copy. Now is the time to load up on solid Catholic books for yourself, your friends, and your family. Save 50% or more on books by Jimmy Akin, Tim Staples, Rod Bennett, Gary Machuda, and a whole host of great authors. And my personal favorite, all the books in our Catholic Answers Classic series are marked down as well. Log on now and all this month to the store at shop.catholic.com and take advantage of our first ever summer sale. Log on today at shop.catholic.com.
Pope Francis reminds us that it does not take a specialized degree in theology to become a great evangelist. We're all called to evangelize. Think about the woman at the well. After she encountered Jesus, she immediately went into the city and invited others to meet him as she had. You and I can go out now and do the same. And St. Paul Street Evangelization can help. Get involved today by contacting us at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
Hi, this is Trent Horn, and I'm really excited to tell you about a special limited-time offer we've got right now on subscriptions of our award-winning Catholic Answers magazine. Sign up today during our annual subscription drive, and not only can you save big bucks off the normal price, we'll give you a digital subscription of the magazine for free. Subscribe today by calling 818-487-2011 or by logging online to CatholicAnswersMagazine.com. Sign up for a 1-year subscription, and we'll give you $10 off the normal price. But better yet, become a 2-year subscriber, and we'll up the ante by dropping the price by $20. That's a savings of $10 to $20 plus a free digital subscription when you sign up for Catholic Answers Magazine. Act now, because this is our best offer of the year, and it's only available for a limited time. Subscribe to Catholic Answers Magazine before our annual subscription drive ends. Phone 818-487-2011 or go to CatholicAnswersMagazine.com.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Patrick Madrid is our guest, and Open Forum means anybody can call, first of all, whether you're Catholic or not Catholic. We're happy to take your call. You got a question that's bugging you about the Catholic Church, or maybe something you're just really excited you want to know about the Catholic Church. Anything. Give us a call, 888-318-7884. Patrick is the host of the Patrick Madrid Show mornings on the Relevant Radio Network and the author of many, many books. And I always say many, many because I actually never know if there's been another born since the last I spoke to you. But I'm going to say a number, and you tell me if I'm in the ballpark.
Okay.
And then this is going to include books you edited, like Surprise by Truth.
Okay.
27.
Bingo. Bingo, bango. Yeah.
All right, good. That means there wasn't another one since last I looked. Okay, I'm glad.
That's it. I hope that I still have a few more in me, and I think I do. I've got some ideas. But yeah, 27. I'm just wrapping up 26 and 27. Number 26 will be coming out, I think it's coming out by Christmas time this year from Sophia Institute Press, and then the next one will come out next year.
Oh, cool, Patrick. That is really great.
Thank you.
And again, I got to stop talking to you and keep going back to calls because the lines are full. George in Birmingham, Alabama, listening on EWTN. No surprise in Birmingham, Alabama. George, your question for Patrick Madrid.
Hey there. So I am a big fan of yours. I follow you on Twitter. But to get to the question, and I'll go quickly. One of my friends gave me a book for my birthday that he thought was a Christian book. It was called The Triumph of Christianity by Bart Ehrman was his name. And I shouldn't have read it. But his thesis is basically Constantine created Christianity. It was the Trinity and Jesus being God were all of his inventions, and he corrupted Scripture himself so that he could make Christianity, to rule Rome,
to conform to his version, right?
Easier.
Okay.
Yeah,
this is what we call in the trade, we call that junk history and junk theology. It's just simply not true. And sadly, Bart Ehrman, who's a very degreed up guy, I mean, he should know better as a scholar, at least he purports to be a scholar, but he's completely wrong in this issue. And we can come at this from several different angles. The first thing is, in order for his premise to be even remotely plausible, the Emperor Constantine, who convoked the Council of First Nicaea in the year 325 to deal primarily with the Arian heresy, he would have to have had some sort of capacity, some sort of means of collecting all the manuscripts that had by then, 300 years roughly after the time of Christ, had circulated throughout the known world, certainly throughout the Mediterranean world in the Middle East, as far away perhaps as India by that time and up into Western Europe. He would have to have had some way that he could have gathered all of those documents, doctored them, and then sent them back out again. And that's simply impossible. There's no way, humanly speaking, that he could have tampered with all of that documentary evidence such that this hypothesis that, well, the only reason we don't see it is because all the documentation was tampered with, it's just impossible. So you can dismiss it on the face of it. The second thing is we have the biblical record, which the Emperor Constantine did not tamper with, and the biblical record is replete with examples of Jesus being God. So it's foretold, for example, in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, which says, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." So that's just one example from the Old Testament where we have prophecies that foretell Jesus and either hint at or explicitly, as this case does, say that he will be divine. And so that would extend the difficulty for Bart Ehrman even further, because that would mean he would have he apparently missed the Jewish manuscripts that he didn't have time, or that the Emperor Constantine didn't have time to tamper with. But there are countless examples of Jesus' divinity being stated in the New Testament. So beginning with John chapter 1, verses 1 through 2 and verse 14, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, full of grace and truth. We have beheld his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father." And if there were time, we could cycle through easily a couple of dozen passages which either explicitly or implicitly state the divinity of Jesus, keeping in mind that these were books written by different authors at different times, and they were written for different audiences, so they were not all collected in one place where the Emperor Constantine could have tampered with them. So that's another problem with his theory. And then also we have the Church Fathers, who are third-party testimonies to this issue. So St. Ignatius of Antioch, for example, he wrote a series of letters on his way from Antioch to be martyred in Rome. And he was martyred there about the year 107. So he was writing these epistles at the dawn of the 2nd century. St. John the Apostle had just died. And he's saying things like this. He says, "Ignatius, also called Theophorus, to the church at Ephesus in Asia, predestined from eternity for a glory that is lasting and unchanging, united and chosen through true suffering by the will of the Father in Jesus Christ our God. And in another section of his letters, he says, for our God, Jesus Christ, was conceived by Mary in accord with God's plan of the seed of David. It is true, but also of the Holy Spirit. Or he says, to the church beloved and enlightened after the love of Jesus Christ our God, by the will of him that was willed everything which is. So these are just 3 examples from one of the earliest church fathers. And were there time, and there's not, we could go through just countless examples of the early church fathers in the centuries before the Emperor Constantine, repeating this same conviction that Jesus Christ is not just Lord, he's God. He's true God and true man. And so this just blows the doors off Bart Ehrman's argument. And that's why I would suggest that you don't pay any attention to him, because he thought long and hard before coming up with the wrong answer.
Okay?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I was cutting out a little. That was more than sufficient. Thanks.
Okay.
I hope I didn't, overkill, but this is such a vital and important doctrine. We should be passionate about this issue, and I'm certain that you are, George. But we should be passionate in defending the divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ. This is not merely, some people believe it, some people don't believe it. We need to take a stand in the face of blasphemy when people who purport to be Christian deny the divinity of Jesus. So, let's get fired up about this and know the facts and not be afraid to share them.
Does Bart Ehrman claim to be Christian? I
don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know anything. I've never met him, so I don't want to do a Mexican hat dance on him.
Yeah.
But his argument is ridiculous, so we can do a Mexican hat dance on that.
So when you do,
and I'm Mexican, by the way, so I can say that. Don't get nervous. I can say that.
Yeah, because I always remember enjoying the Mexican hat dance as a kid. But
and so on and so forth.
Yes, right. But when you do it, I'm taking from context here. It's a bad thing. Like people do not want a Madrid Mexican hat dance.
Don't want the Mexican hat dance on your argument.
Fair enough. Tim in Salem, Oregon, listening on the great modern day radio up there. You have time to share your question with Patrick, but we'll probably have to do the answer on the other side of the break. Can you do that, Tim?
Sure can. Hey, thanks for taking my call. I'll get right to it. Hey, my question has to do with the seal of confessional. Now, say, for instance, a person commits a murder, goes to the priest, and confesses this sin to the priest. And then, let's say, 2 years later, the priest leaves the priesthood. And then realizing that he knows the murderer, who the murderer is, and say this murder has gone unsolved.
Okay, Tim, that's a pretty cool. I get it. I thought you were going to do the plot of the Alfred Hitchcock movie, I Confess, there for a minute, but you went a different direction. Patrick Madrid is more than well equipped to answer that question. I'm looking forward to it. We'll do that right after this, Tim, if you'll hang on here on Catholic Answers Live.
Hello, this is Bishop Jeffrey Monforton, Bishop of the Diocese of Steubenville. Make sure you keep it on Catholic Answers Live. God bless you.
Sharing the gospel with family and friends can be challenging. It's especially hard when they won't even hear you out because of all the mental roadblocks they've built up. This is Carlo Broussard, and in my new book, Prepare the Way, my aim is to help you tackle that essential first step to apologetics and evangelization, getting people to listen with an open mind. Even our best witness can bounce right off folks like these if we don't prepare the way first, breaking down barriers and leaving minds and souls free to encounter the truth. I'll give you evidence and arguments and step-by-step strategies based on asking the right questions to help them overcome their obstacles and make a straight path for the Lord. Order your copy of Prepare the Way today by calling 1-888-291-8000, visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
What difference does it make who or what you worship, or what you believe? Sharing the faith used to make some people mad because it challenged their own strong beliefs. Today, it makes a lot of people yawn because they don't have strong beliefs about anything. Religious indifference is the great spiritual sickness of our age, a product of the relativism that dominates modern culture. This is Matt Nelson, and in my new book, Just Whatever, I'll take down the building blocks of religious indifference one by one. We'll look at the different kinds of indifference you tend to encounter in your friends and family members to see where they come from and why they're seductive. What you believe matters. Find out why and what to do about it in my new book, Just Whatever. You can order your copy of Just Whatever by calling 1-888-291-8000, by visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
EWTN, helping people grow in their love and understanding of God.
Hey, listen, I want to tell you also, you guys are phenomenal. The opportunity to say these things on the air is filling the vacuum out there with very, very positive thoughts and ideas. I'm just thrilled that you guys do what you do.
Just want to say how wonderful it is to listen to you guys. You've taught me that life needs to be much more intentional. I want to thank you for your ministry.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Patrick Madrid is here for the groovy music? Love this music. Are you dancing right now, Patrick?
Put a bass guitar in my hand. And,
yeah, you could go with that, huh?
Yeah.
That's our own Nick Chamberlain playing with the band Nick Check and the Dead Century. And
cool.
I love that music. And I know you are a great music aficionado. In addition to playing music yourself, you just love music.
I do. I confess, I really do. Back in the day, before I found my way into apologetics, I played bass guitar in rock and roll bands, small time rock and roll bands. I never got into the big time. I never got into the medium time. But I wanted to be the next Paul McCartney, and that's what I was aiming at. But God had other plans for me. Thank God.
Well, you are. That's funny because you're like the Paul McCartney of apologetics. That's what you are.
That.
You're the. That's going to be my. I'm going to introduce you that way from now on when I have to introduce you. The Paul McCartney.
I'm flattered. Thank you.
Yes.
I like that.
Do you still have the bouffant hairdo, or did you trade that in for something else?
Only on certain days.
It's a wig, huh?
It's close crop now.
So Tim in Salem, Oregon, you were asking about, say, a priest hears a confession of a murder, and then a few years later is not a priest anymore, and then go ahead, continue with your question.
Realizing that this murder has been unsolved now, and he decides to go to the police. Now, my questions are, would this ex-priest testimony be admissible in the court of law, and what would the church's stance be on a situation like this?
All righty.
Okay, two very good questions. I'm assuming, not being a lawyer, I can only assume, but my assumption is that, yes, the courts would accept that as admissible, but he would be putting himself in all kinds of worlds of hurt because the seal of the confessional is inviolable. Whether you remain in the priesthood faithfully till the end of your life or you leave the priesthood, you're still bound by that seal. So morally speaking, and in the eyes of God and the church, he would be committing a horrendous sin, and he would be violating his solemn promise never to reveal anything in the confessional. So although the state might be happy to gobble that up in a courtroom, he would be in serious, deep, deep trouble with God. And I don't know specifically the canonical penalties the church would impose, but I think it might be excommunication. So I hope that clarifies it for you. No ex-priest, no priest should ever do anything like that.
No, and I have to say, having worked inside of a diocesan chancery, and I think you did too as well, Patrick, if I remember correctly.
I never did that.
Oh, this is taken very, very seriously. I mean, there's almost nothing you can imagine taken more seriously than the seal of the confessional within the church. I mean, it would virtually end a priest's time as a priest.
Virtually. It would be over.
Yeah.
There would be a smoking crater, canonically speaking. There would be a smoking crater where
canonical
his priestly career
smoking
once stood.
Incoming canonical bombs. Duck.
Yeah. No, it's extremely serious, you're right. And for good reason.
Oh, yeah.
It's the internal forum, and nobody has a right to know anything in the internal forum. I mean, in general terms here, other than you and God, you're alone with God. And in the confessional, the priest is acting in the person of Christ. He is the appointed minister of Jesus in the sacrament. So it's extremely important. And it's thankfully very rare that you ever even hear about anything like that.
Right.
Rare to the point that I don't know that I've ever heard any substantiated example of a priest, but that's how, you're right, that's how serious the church takes it.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't think I have ever heard of one either. I have other problems, but never have heard that.
Not that one, yeah.
We have a good friend, Giuseppe, but he's over in the United Kingdom, so we got to get him on the line. Giuseppe, sorry to keep you waiting. Your question for Patrick Madrid.
Good evening, both. How are you?
Very well.
Patrick, I enjoy your talks. I watch you an awful lot on YouTube.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed your Sola Scriptura debates, especially when you was talking to some evangelical friends, I think, and you used that method of, I think, I can't remember, I'll paraphrase, that you wrote something down, and you said, I have stolen money. I thought that was brilliant. So
thank you. That one was, I never said you stole money.
Sorry?
Oh, yes. Patrick
It was
does
actually...
I've heard you do it too, Patrick. That I never said you stole money, and where you put the emphasis changes the meaning of that sentence.
Exactly.
And that's a wonderful example.
Thank you.
Really is. And I live near Birmingham, by the way, Patrick, and I'm going to the Oratory in Birmingham on Sunday for the High Latin Mass.
Please pray for me at the Latin
Mass. Yes, of course. Patrick, I'm in a moral dilemma. Basically what it is as I've become deeper and deeper and deeper in my faith, and of course I believe so much in my heart of the Blessed Sacrament and the Eucharist, and I watch people receive communion without the reverence and taking it on the hand without a single thought. And I watched on the EWTN afterwards, Father Mitch Packworth having an interview with Bishop Snyder, just reminding people how to take the Blessed Sacrament. And I really cringe when I watch this happening. And I thought, well, I'll get on my knees and I'll take it on the tongue. But how can I say stop it, but who can I talk to try and remind you? Because I keep thinking, well, if the Queen of England walked into the church, surely people would show her the proper reverence. But our Lord is the King of Kings. He died on the cross for us, and the sacrifice he made for us, and paying the correct respect and majesty that he is. Can you see what I'm trying to say?
I do, and I share your conviction about how we should be maximalists, not minimalists, when it comes to showing respect and veneration for the Lord in the Holy Eucharist, among other things, but primarily that. So I share your deep sense of desire to do that, and I can also understand why it pains you when you see people who receive in a cavalier manner, or maybe they're not even paying attention to it. I've seen some horror stories myself. What can you do about it? My sense is probably not much if you think of like solving the problem by actually doing something. It seems to me that there are 3 spheres of activity that you and I as laymen can involve ourselves in with regard to this problem. The first, and perhaps the most potent of all, would be to pray, asking the Lord to help correct this problem in the church. It's a problem of long standing, many decades old now. And there are a variety of causes for it, but prayer is always very powerful. And the second sphere of activity would be through your own good example, and let others see. As Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, he said, "You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before men." He says, let it shine before men so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. I think this is one of those good works where you, through your example, without trying to be ostentatious, but just your natural, everyday good example, radiating outward from you, that people will notice that you have a deep reverence for the Lord. That has an attractive quality to it, and it also evangelizes without words. And then the third thing would be, we have a precept in the church, as I'm sure you know, which is admonish the sinner. It's one of the, not a precept, excuse me, it's one of the spiritual works of mercy. So when it's opportune and you can find a way of gently encouraging somebody to be more respectful to our Lord in the Holy Eucharist without coming across like you're the morality police or, You're not, going over to somebody and saying, "Hey, I saw you at Mass," and without doing anything like that, which I seriously doubt you would do anyway. But if you have opportunities that arise where you can actually give good counsel and gently admonish somebody and encourage them more than admonish them, I think that those three things, if you spent your life active in those three areas, I think that would be very pleasing to God, and you would probably have some good results that you might only find out about when you get to heaven. You might not know in the meantime that your activity in these three areas is having a desired effect, but I believe it would have a desired effect.
As you said, by actions shows reverence. You know what I mean? Because obviously by your actions and not showing reverence, people sort of will forget what communion or the Blessed Eucharist, who he actually is. I was actually thinking about seeing the Archbishop. Would that be not a good idea? Or
I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but just between you and me, and however many million people are listening to us, I doubt it would really amount to much. Not because I don't know who the Archbishop is, so I'm not saying anything about him per se. But what's he going to do? How would he translate your comment, which he probably agrees with? I hope he agrees with it. There's no really effective way that he could immediately implement that. Now, if he were to say, from now on in our archdiocese, I would like everybody to genuflect before receiving Holy Communion, that would be marvelous. If it's likely, I kind of doubt it. He may implement other measures, and perhaps, and I'm not trying to be a wet blanket, it might be in God's providence that you're having a conversation with him could be the catalyst that might move him to do something like that. I have no earthly idea. So I'm not discounting that, and I'm not trying to discourage you from doing that, but I don't, realistically speaking, practically speaking, I wouldn't expect a lot to come from that, I guess is how I'd put it, if that makes sense.
Giuseppe, we'll have to leave it there because we got to go to a break. Thanks very much for that call. Patrick, I don't wonder if you get this. Do you, when you're speaking to people with a beautiful British accent, do you want to slip into that accent yourself and start speaking that way?
Quite.
Glad to hear it. Well, we do have to take a break, but before we do, I want to remind you, you should be a member of Radio Club. Radio Club here at Catholic Answers is completely free. We don't bug you with anything. We do send you an email every week with cool stuff in it, with behind-the-scenes videos, with letters from the host of the show, which, frankly, week after week, I find those letters brilliant. All kinds of cool stuff. The way you sign up for Radio Club is you go to CatholicAnswersLive.com. There's a little banner there. Just put in your email address, send us that email address, and you are our friend in Radio Club, and we're going to send you free stuff all year. And, okay, now we can take a break. We'll be right back after this on Catholic Answers Live. Right then.
Your number one source for Catholic apologetics and evangelization. Catholic Answers Live.
Hey everyone, Carlo Broussard here. Can you feel the heat? Summer is upon us. Things are heating up, my friends, and that includes our first ever summer book sale and the online shop at Catholic.com. For a limited time, we've got dozens of great books offered at $10, $5, even as low as $1 a copy. So you can load up on solid Catholic books for yourself, your friends, and your family. This spectacular online event offers saving of 50% and more on books by Jimmy Akin, Tim Staples, Rod Bennett, Gary Machuda, and a whole host of esteemed authors, evangelists, and apologists, including yours truly. We've even got all of the books in our Catholic Answers Classics series marked down. Log on now and all this month to the store at shop.catholic.com and take advantage of what will be one of the most exciting sales of the summer. You know it's all good stuff because it's from the people you know and trust at Catholic Answers. Log on to shop.catholic.com and start saving today.
Homeschool Connections, an online provider of courses for your Catholic homeschool, is a sponsor of Catholic Answers Live. Homeschool Connections website is homeschoolconnections.com.
Hi, this is Trent Horn, and you've probably heard me explain Catholicism to non-Catholic callers on the radio or engage opponents in formal public debates. I've always hoped these interactions would show people how to graciously defend and share our faith. but they're not enough. That's why I've created a weekly podcast that will help Catholics answer the toughest objections against our faith. Every episode of the Council of Trent will provide listeners with a conversation roadmap that will help them share their faith with anyone. Keep in mind that I hate boring lectures. These podcasts will contain entertaining, informative, and practical explanations of the faith, as well as interviews with the best Catholic writers and speakers in the world today. Visit TrentHornPodcast.com today to find out how you can subscribe to my new podcast. That's TrentHornPodcast.com.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm so happy to have Patrick Madrid here with us and sharing sometimes sharing the good news. That's what we try to do, and we appreciate your calls as well. If you have a question on anything at all having to do with the Catholic faith, you're welcome to call on these open forum days. And don't forget, non-Catholics as well as Catholics are welcome to call. Anybody can call. Let's go to Tony at the North Pole. No, I read that wrong. Northport, Florida, watching on YouTube. I knew it wasn't North Pole, Tony. What's your question for Patrick?
Hi, guys. Patrick, I really appreciate your talks. I really enjoy them. The bit about the statues, worshiping statues, is hilarious. So thank you for everything you do.
Can I tell you where that happened and when that happened?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, just a little slice of life. I was with Carl Keating. We were in suburban Chicago back around, I don't know, it seemed to me like it was around 92, somewhere in there. And we were doing barnstorming, speaking at parishes for the better part of a week. And we pulled up in front of a parish that had these statues in front of the rectory, a statue of Our Lady of Fatima, and then the three children's statues. And it just sort of rolled out. I just said to Carl, I pointed to the statues and I said, what a great religion. Not only can we worship statues, but our statues can worship statues. Because the statues of the children, the Fatima children, had their hands folded. They were kneeling in front of the bigger statue. And so Carl and I chuckled like, that's pretty funny. And then when I introduced, because Carl was speaking that evening, I introduced him. So I was at the microphone and I told that story that had just happened an hour earlier. And the Catholics in the audience laughed. And then I realized, hey, this is actually a really good joke. So that's been in my bag of tricks ever since. And I've told that joke endlessly. And when I hear other people tell the joke, I get a smile on my face when I hear that.
That's great, Patrick. Tony, your question for Patrick?
Yeah, I was trying to frame it the best, most cogent way I could. So I guess it's kind of a two-part question. First, kind of a question about the Eucharist. I understand that Eastern Orthodox has valid apostolic succession, have the seven sacraments. So when I'm driving past a church, a Catholic church, I assume that there's consecrated Eucharist there. I bless myself. If I'm in the presence of the Eucharist, genuflect, and all of that. So my first part of the question would be if I'm passing an Eastern Orthodox church, or presumably if I'm on a pilgrimage in Greece or in Israel, and I am in a Eastern Orthodox church, I would assume, but I just want to verify, that that is Jesus Christ, and that I would adore him. So that's the first part. Second part is I've heard it phrased different ways, but that in extreme circumstances, usually how I hear it phrased, that you can actually take part in the sacraments of the Eastern Orthodox Church. What precisely does that mean? So that's my question.
Okay, two very good questions. Well, as to the first question, I don't know for certain whether every single, say, Greek Orthodox church has the Blessed Sacrament reposed in the tabernacle, and it would be the Eucharistic bread, not the mixing as it happens at Divine Liturgy. At Divine Liturgy, the Eastern Orthodox believers receive our Lord in Holy Communion with the Eucharistic bread and the precious blood mixed in the chalice and then spooned into their mouths. And as for, let's say, Holy Communion for those who are sick, I'm assuming that they would have Holy Communion reposed in a tabernacle, but not knowing whether or not this is customary for the typical, say, Greek Orthodox church. I don't know. If there is a tabernacle in that church and our Lord is there, then yes, it would be completely appropriate to make a sign of reverence, to make the sign of the cross, for example, to say a little prayer as you pass by. So I think the best thing would be to, if you're traveling, if you have an opportunity to stop in and see, if you see the sanctuary light and you see a tabernacle, that's your sign that our Lord is there. Now, as to the second part of your question, the church foresees situations where Catholics such as yourself, maybe because of travel or you've moved to a different country or there's something else happening where you're not able to go to Mass at a Catholic church, you are permitted by the Catholic Church to receive the sacraments in an Orthodox church. So, for example, receiving Holy Communion at their Divine Liturgy, or to go to confession. Or I think the likelihood of something like chrismation, which we call confirmation, would be a lot less likely to happen. But let's just say Holy Communion and confession, you are permitted to do that because they are valid sacraments. And you would need to have reasons for doing that. But the question would remain whether or not that Orthodox priest would allow you to do that, because sadly there is a great deal of anti-Catholic feeling in the Eastern Orthodox world, and I myself have encountered some of it before, and it might be that the priest would not allow you to, because he might say that you are not properly prepared to do that. Now, theologically speaking, and in terms of the high-level agreements between, say, the Greek Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church, it is permitted. But on an individual case-by-case basis, you might run into some resistance. So that's something to keep in mind.
Okay, Tony?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's go to Rose now in Elmira, New York. Rose, you're on with Patrick Madrid. Your question, please.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my call. I befriended a couple that now has a teenage daughter about 5 years ago, and I'm finding myself constantly getting into a debate with them because they're teaching their daughter that nothing in the Bible is literal. From homosexuality to adultery, God will understand. So I'm getting very frustrated. I know I can pray, but it's very hard to debate someone who doesn't fully believe what the Bible says. So I'm wondering what you do in that case. Because their daughter doesn't have a clue.
Right. Are you young like the daughter, or are you an adult?
No, I'm an adult, but the daughter looks up to me, but it's very hard because the parents have gone very far away from the belief.
Right. So would your conversation be with the daughter or with the parents?
Right now, I don't want to step on the parents' toes, but I'm constantly in debates with them. I would say I debate all the time with them, but I don't win because when I point something out in the Bible, it's kind of futile because they're like, yeah, it says that, but God would forgive, or God, you know, they try to justify whatever. They make up their own idea, their own interpretation.
Right. Well, there are a few things you could do. One would be to try to pin them down, to start quoting some passages where Jesus says, love your enemies, do good to those who persecute you, and say, that's probably not literal, right? Jesus didn't really mean that, did he? And they might say, oh, no, he meant that. But I thought you said that you don't take the Bible literally. So if you don't take the Bible literally, then how can you say that Jesus literally meant to love your enemies? Or Jesus in Matthew 25 said, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, give drink to the thirsty, etc. He didn't mean that literally. You know, he doesn't literally expect you to feed poor people, does he? And they're going to say, oh yeah, of course he does. So then what you do is you show them the inconsistency and point out that you're just saying this is literal because you happen to agree with it. But when you come across another teaching of Jesus that you don't like the ramifications of, you dismiss it as not being literal. That's purely subjective and it's erroneous. And you can point out you have no objective basis, no objective rationale, certainly not a biblical rationale, to just capriciously say, well, this verse should be taken literally and that verse should not. Just point that out to them and just say you've constructed this sort of imaginary world that's not what Jesus taught. It's not what the apostles taught. It's certainly not what the church has taught for the last 2,000 years. So you're deluding yourselves. Now, they may argue with you, but you need to tell them this. You're deluding yourselves. And you can say to them, and I've demonstrated it because I've proven to you by your own admission that you don't really take all of the Bible either literally or figuratively. The next thing you could do is just ask them, do you believe that Jesus is God? And hopefully they'll say yes. Then you could say, well, then as God, do you believe he has a claim on your life? Hopefully they'll say yes. If they say no, then there's an entirely different set of things that you probably should talk about. But let's assume for the moment that they say yes. Then I would say, well, if you believe that Jesus is God, and you believe he has a claim on your life, then how do you explain the fact that Jesus says to you, he says, "Why do you say to me, Lord, Lord, but do not do the things I command you?" And what did he command us? He commanded us to listen to him, to listen to his teachings. In Luke 10:16, he says to the apostles, "He who listens to you listens to me. He who rejects you rejects me." So you can pile up pretty quickly a lot of evidence from Jesus' own lips that point out that he gave his church the authority to teach. Matthew chapter 28, verses 19 and 20, the Great Commission is where Jesus says to the apostles, "Go into the whole world, teach them to observe all that I have commanded you." So what you need to do is kind of, in a step-by-step way, lay out these logical premises. And the conclusion is that if you refuse to listen to the church, then don't fool yourself into thinking that you're really a follower of Jesus, because by doing so, you're refusing to listen to him. Now, this may take multiple conversations, but that would be the tack I would take just based upon the little information that you've given me.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Rose. Appreciate that. Do you think we can get a quick one in? I think we can get a quick
Sure.
question in. I think so.
Sure.
Kevin, I'm sorry to rush you, but if you can ask your question real quick, Patrick will have time to get an answer to you.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. Why is it called the Second Coming when it appears that the Lord appeared in the Old Testament and as well as visited saints in the New Testament? Why is the church, when they say Christ returns, is it called the Second Coming? I know that may sound like a basic question. Maybe
No, that's a good question. Yeah, it's a term that refers to the final judgment, when Christ returns in glory in the clouds with the angels coming with him as our judge. That's what it refers to. So it's a term that has a kind of very specific meaning. It doesn't exclude these other instances like personal revelations where Jesus might appear to a saint or something like that. It's not intended to exclude that, but to simply denominate it as, in his first coming, Jesus was in the flesh walking the earth in his ministry. In his second coming, he will return to judge everybody.
Kevin, you did it. Thanks for asking that question so quickly. Patrick Madrid, thanks for another great hour.
Thank you, Si. Always great to be here with you. I love Catholic Answers, so pass along all my love to everybody.
I will. Thank you very much. And people can get in touch with you at patrickmadrid.com.
Yes.
And if they want to take you up on that offer to go and visit, to make a pilgrimage to all the sites of the English Catholic faith, they can go to canterburytours.com/Patrick Madrid.
CanterburyPilgrimages.com.
I apologize.
/Patrick Madrid. Thank you.
CanterburyPilgrimages.com/Patrick Madrid. Thanks again, Patrick.
Thank you, Si. God bless you.
Hey, don't forget to join us tomorrow. We're doing it again. Game show day. That's right. The brand new, as yet unnamed game show at Catholic Answers Live comes back. Jimmy Akin will be our special secret celebrity guest. See you then, God willing, on Catholic Answers Live.